If you wish to speak to any item on the agenda or during the public comment portion of the meeting, please fill out a speaker card. Each person addressing the board shall have 3 minutes to complete his or her comments on each agenda item for which he or she has filled out a card. The chair has the discretion to determine or alter the time limits on any agenda item. The Board of County Commissioners requests that speakers appearing under the public comment section of the agenda limit their comments or presentations to matters relating to county business that are within the board's control, authority, and jurisdiction.
Well, good evening and welcome to our regular agenda on Tuesday, April 9th, 2024. We have a nice group here tonight, and before we get started, I would like to call up Sean Grant, who will give us an invocation. Sean?
Thank you, Commissioners. On behalf of the Baha'is in Brevard County, I would like to say the invocation for unity for the peoples of the planet and the earth, given all that's going on. Oh my God, unite the hearts of thy servants and reveal unto them thy great purpose. May they follow thy commandments and abide in thy laws. Help them, O God, in their endeavor and grant them strength to serve thee. O God, lead them not to themselves, but guide their steps. But the light of thy knowledge and cheer their hearts by thy love.
Amen. Okay, if we could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Feltner.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started, Commissioner Feltner would like a moment of comments.
This really for the benefits of the folks who support us, specifically the clerk, SGTV. So when we're using the microphones, it's helpful if we make them closer to us. We turn them on and off so that they don't have to do that for us. Obviously for the clerk, that helps with the minutes. For Space Coast Government TV, that's especially helpful. And, you know, now closed caption and ADA compliance is handled by automatically now by YouTube and those sorts of things. And so it would help everybody if we are a little bit better with the microphones. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'd like to recognize our property appraiser, Dana Blickley. Thank you for being here, Dana. And our tax collector, Lisa Cullen. Thank you, Lisa, for being here. We'll get started now, and I'd like a motion for approval of the minutes, please.
So moved, Chair.
Motion by Commissioner Goodson.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Tobias. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, resolution awards and presentations. Who is going to handle E1?
I am, sir.
Okay, Commissioner Pritchett.
I have Lieutenant Colonel Albert Throut here. Come on up. This is a joy to do this one, sir. I thank you for all that you do in the community, all that you've done for the veterans, and I'm going to read this. But we had a cemetery with veterans that kind of got forgotten, and you guys picked it up, and it's just beautiful. And I really thank you for that, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Whereas Lieutenant Colonel Albert Throut is one of the original 5 founders of the Friends of the Cemetery, dedicated to helping beautify, maintain, and honor our veterans in their final resting place in the Veterans Memorial Cemetery on Day Street in Titusville, Florida. And whereas he has furthered honored veterans by serving as the coordinator for both the Titusville area wreaths across America and the Memorial Day veteran ceremonies of the Brevard County Veteran Cemetery, and chairman of the Titusville Flag and Memorial Committee, and we see it all of them all the time. Whereas, sir, you have generously dedicated your time and efforts to support law enforcement, first responders, by planning the annual United States Patriot Day Blue Mass Ceremony in Titusville, and by volunteering on the Titusville Police Department Community Watch. We're going to be here a while because you have a lot of things you've done. And whereas you are the former, I know you're wonderful, commander of the Tycho Composite Squadron and deputy commander of the Florida Wing Group 2 for Civil Air Patrol, America's premier public service organization for carrying out emergency services and disaster relief missions. And whereas you have been an active member of Holy Spirit Catholic Church, Knights of Columbus, Knights on Bikes, American Legion Post 1, Titusville Red, White, and Boom Committee, 45th Space Delta Launch Viewing Site Safety Volunteer, Cape Canaveral Space and Missile Museum Volunteer and Trainer, veteran of the United States Air Force, and co-host of the Titusville Annual Astronaut Memorial Service. Sir, therefore, it is my honor that the Board of County Commissioners of Brevard County, Florida, does hereby recognize and commend Lieutenant Colonel Albert Throat, Civil Air Patrol, for all that you've done, sir. Commissioners, I make a motion today to approve this resolution.
I'll second.
Second, oops.
There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Pritchett and seconded by Commissioner Feltner. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. The motion carries. Congratulations, sir.
Do you have a few things you want to say? Or?
I am humbled and honored to receive this for doing something that I love to do. Taking care of the veterans is, I've been there, done that, and want to keep doing it. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Our next award is Commissioner Feltner.
I can see Susan Kowalski here. How are you? A resolution for Second Chance Month. I'll go ahead and read the resolution and then we'll make a motion and Chair will recognize you to make some remarks. Whereas every person is endowed with human dignity and value, and redemption and second chances are an American values, and whereas nearly 1/3 of working age adults in the United States have experienced involvement with the criminal justice system, and whereas at any given time in Florida, there are over 86,000 adults incarcerated in state prison, and more than 146,000 adults are on felony supervision, and whereas individuals with a criminal history face significant barriers such as the inability to find housing, employment, or education, volunteer in their community, and pay significant debt that arises because of their conviction and incarceration. And whereas these barriers can contribute to relapse, which increases victimization and decreases public safety. And whereas the stigma and legal barriers associated with a criminal record result in lost human capital and lost economic output for the United States. And whereas the designation of April as Second Chance Month can contribute to increased public awareness about the challenges faced by those who have paid their debt and creates opportunities for individuals, employers, congregations, and communities to extend second chances. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Brevard County Board of County Commissioners does hereby designate April as Second Chance Month in Brevard County. Done, ordered, and adopted in regular session this 9th day of April 2024. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Feltner. Commissioner Feltner moved. Commissioner Pritchett seconded. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. You go ahead, the young lady.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Steele, Vice Chair Pritchett, Commissioners. My name is Susan Kowalski. I'm the Deputy Director for Operation New Hope, the Space Coast Office. Operation New Hope has been in existence for 25 years, providing reentry services throughout Florida. Operation New Hope is a leader in the field of reentry, whose work has been praised by the last 4 White House administrations. We are a national model. Operation New Hope was established in Jacksonville in 1999, and now has offices in Orlando, St. Johns County, the Space Coast, and is opening an office in the Tampa Bay area in the coming months. Operation New Hope plans on opening offices throughout the state of Florida, North Florida, as well as South Florida, to make a reentry network. By providing extensive wraparound care and job training, we provide second chances for the formerly incarcerated. Operation New Hope's Ready for Work and Ready for Release programs equip our clients with what they need to become a productive and responsible citizen of our community. At Operation New Hope, we believe that we are all better than our worst mistakes, our worst days, or worst decisions. We believe in people's ability to learn from their mistakes and transform their lives through commitment and hard work. We value safe communities. We value strong economies. We value stable families, and we value second chances. Thank you for recognizing April as Second Chance Month and for your continued support of Operation New Hope. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would love to. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, we have a quite an interesting crowd here this evening, and I would like to just kind of put out a couple of little things for everybody's to listen to quickly. You're welcome to have a sign this evening, but that sign, please don't disrupt the people behind you. Please don't try to incite the crowd or anything of that nature. We're going to have 3 minutes apiece on these conversations, so we're not cutting anything back. And before I get started on the consent agenda, Commissioner Goodson, do you have anything you want to pull from the consent agenda?
Yes, F13.
Okay.
Card service.
Commissioner-
And Chair, I would like to hear the public speak about it before we get into discussion.
Absolutely, yes, sir. Commissioner Feldner, do you have anything you'd like to pull this evening?
I think that's the one that's gonna come on.
Okay, Commissioner Pritchett?
Good.
Good, Commissioner Tobias? All right, we also have some people that would like to talk on different subjects, and one of them's our consent agenda F1 and consent agenda F6, consent agenda F8, and consent agenda F12. And I believe that's all of them at this particular point in time. But let's go to consent agenda 1. Sandra Sullivan, please.
Good evening. Sandra Sullivan, South Patrick Shores. So it's my understanding that this property, the sewage goes to Port St. John's Sewage Treatment Plant. My concern with that is I did a records request in February of 21. It was at 85% capacity, the plant. In February of 22, it was at 86% capacity. And in March of 2023, 96% capacity. Now, once you're over 85%, you're really not supposed to be adding development to a treatment plant until you plan to replace it. So you have plans to replace it, but we don't have a way to pay to replace it yet. It's $170 million. And I requested the state to help with that and the feds. It used to be $50 million to replace plants. So I guess my objection is, why are we still doing large development sites on a sewage treatment plant that is at capacity or near capacity? It just seems like when we're taxing the people to prevent to try and clean up the lagoon, and then we're putting it at risk. That's not good business. So until we have a plan in the works to replace that plant, and that's probably a multi-year process, I don't think we should be putting a lot of added development on that sewage treatment plant. You probably need to look at something of a moratorium or something on that plant to protect the river. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Your comments are noted. Okay. How quickly we get off this thing. Please tonight, no applause. Let's try to keep everything civil and understanding. I appreciate Ms. Sullivan's comments, and I'm sorry that I chastised you. I didn't say no applause tonight, so it's my fault. So shame on me. Thank you. All right. F6. Yes.
You should read.
That's Commissioner Goodson. You want the floor for a second, if you don't
Please,
mind?
thank you.
Yes, sir.
In the agenda report, it says City of Cocoa is providing sewer and water. So undoubtedly, they're providing the sewer and water. So therefore, the sewer plant that is at 85 is not affected with it. Sandra, do you hear that? Sarah, do you hear it? Yeah, City of Cocoa. Thank you for your comments.
All right. Let's go on. Kristen, where are you? Kristen Lordy. I didn't recognize you tonight without your costume. Nice to see you.
I dressed up because it's citizen engagement night on the Speak at Brevard item. So I am commenting on F6 right now under consent agenda, and I'm commenting on several of the items under consent because I did go through the meeting backup items. And one of the definition I want to read, it will apply to all my items. But first of all, the definition of consent agenda, according to the Assistant Attorney General, is routine matters that are typically non-controversial and do not deviate from past board direction or policy. And once again, Kristen Lortie, Brevard Care Citizens Coalition is a Facebook group that I founded. And on F6, I want to talk about the appointment to the Local Health Council of East Central Florida, in which former Commissioner Zonka was recommended for this appointment. And she has graciously agreed according to the backup documents. And so in looking at the background, what I appreciated about it was that there is a summary explanation and background that talks about the history of this particular item. It does not assign a person as the recommender. It just says Housing and Human Services. And for a high-profile former commissioner to be appointed to a current position, a few questions that I have as a member of the public is, was it listed? Are other people, did they have the opportunity to apply for this appointment? Was it canvassed to the public? It's being put into a consent agenda, which means that it's ending up being very low profile unless I had spoken to it. I didn't feel that there was enough information to support the agenda item provided, explaining why Ms. Zonka was chosen and whether or not other candidates had that option. And I think for positions that are opened up to the community, they should be opened up to the community. I also note that she's being appointed as the county representative for the healthcare purchaser group. I forgot we don't actually state these in the meeting. So the requested action is, it is requested that the Board of County Commissioners approve the appointment of Dr. Christine Zonka as the county representative for the healthcare purchaser group. And what I wondered, because there's this other item that has ended up being related on the lifeguard funding, and that there's going to be lifeguard funding redirected to healthcare initiatives. Is there any connection there? And I don't have the answer to that, but I did wonder when I was looking through the item. So I just have questions on the appointment, and I have an interest in making sure that these positions are opened up to the public or explained to the public why they're not, and that could be included in the narrative detail for it. That's my comment on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Was that all your comments, Kristen?
Not on the consent agenda. I have others.
You only get 3 minutes on all of the things that are on your consent agenda.
That's not correct.
Ma'am? I'm telling you, it is correct. I've sent you an email to tell you that also, and
I didn't get an email from you on that.
well, I'm sorry that you didn't get one, but you have 3 minutes to regardless of how many things that you have on a consent agenda. Once you use your 3 minutes, your 3 minutes is up.
That's not a part of the current policy.
I have checked with the county attorney prior to this meeting to make sure I was correct on this issue. Morris, do you have any comments?
So, Mr. Chair, the specific question that was asked related to the item I2, the Sears, where people had multiple items within that item, and Ms. Lordy, I believe, requested to speak individually to the separate items, and the answer to that one was that it was 3 minutes. That wasn't applicable to the consent agenda here. That wasn't the question I understood was being asked.
I apologize. Thank you very much. Please accept my apology. Would you like to go through all of them so that
Certainly.
Okay, that'd be great.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and get that started then.
Okay. So I did prepare, so I'll go through my comments in order for the consent agenda items. The next one is under F8, where this time former Commissioner Kurt Smith is being requested that the board appoint Kurt Smith as the replacement Tourism Development Council representative to the Environmentally Endangered Lands Selection and Management Committee for a term of 2 years until April 2026. And on this one, there was much less detail than there was on the other one regarding Ms. Zonka. And I felt that there should be more that is provided. In this instance, it was recommended by the Parks and Recreation Department. And I would have liked to have more explanation on the background, what Mr. Smith's qualifications were for this particular item, what was the selection process for it, was the position made available to other members of the public. And once again, former Commissioner Smith is an especially high-profile member of the public, one to be appointed to the position and then next to be on the consent agenda. So I didn't feel that there was enough information provided to support this. And once again, I didn't feel that it should be on the consent agenda. So those are my comments on F8. So you can restart the clock and I'll go on to the next one.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you. Next one is the state lobbying services contract under F12 with Ronald Book. So he is being recommended for a $72,000 annual contract and $6,000 a month for 1 year. And my comments on this are a little bit nuanced because there was one piece of this in particular that I commend the commissioners on. But first, my objections. My objections were that there was no disclosure on this at the 312 meeting that Commissioner Tobias has received $2,000 in funding for his campaign from this. And it was interesting enough to the media that there is an article on Florida Today on April 2nd about this. Brevard County Commission backs extending the state lobbyist book's contract for another year. And it talks about the potential conflict of interest, although Commissioner Tobias disagreed on it. But that wasn't disclosed at the 312 meeting when this item was discussed. I object to Commissioner Tobias being the one to bring it forward. The Florida Today article does give us some more backup on that. It says that he saw the item on the county commission's March 12 agenda. And then prior to the vote, he reached out to Mr. Book to determine if Mr. Book still wanted to work as the lobbyist. He also contacted members of Brevard's delegation to the Florida legislature to determine what kind of relationship they had with Book. And after determining that Book has a very good relationship with the local delegation, that's what he found out. And that Book is also the father of Florida State Minority Leader Lauren Book from Davie, Democrat from Davie. So I just felt there's quite a lot additional that was revealed in the Florida Today article. I would like to have seen Commissioner Tobias, one, not involving himself in it since he had personally benefited, and then two, to abstain from voting on it as an agenda item. So I felt those would have been more helpful to me as a member of the public to let staff take care of it, because he was, one, recommended for a raise. He was recommended for a 3-year contract. Commissioner Tobias personally involved himself in the matter, and now it is being presented as a consent agenda item. And what I commend the commission on is that I do appreciate that you supported it as a 1-year versus a 3-year, albeit a no bid contract. But I did like that. I've even contrasted that with what the city of Cocoa did in extending the city manager contract. I appreciated that you allow the next board to make that final decision as of next year. And then I would like to draw attention to the Florida Today quote that said, Mr. Bobanek, who is who is the supervisor of elections in a similar situation, said that he did not vote on that relevantly similar item because I think all elected officials should avoid any appearance of impropriety. So I appreciated that statement from candidate Bobanek and supervisor of elections Bobanek. And so for those reasons, I do not support this item.
Okay, let me make just a couple of comments if I could, please. There's nothing illegal or unethical for any person on this particular board to be taking a campaign contribution from Mr. Book. Mr. Book has been excellent as our lobbyist for many years, bringing us millions and millions of dollars. I would say he's probably the best lobbyist in Tallahassee. In addition, the reason why we did this in the first place was Commissioner Feltner's idea, because the lobbying contract was just about up. And the lobbying contract would have to be extended for 3 years. And Commissioner Feltner, in his wisdom, and I believe that he was absolutely accurate, said to the commission, why don't we try to get Lobbyist Book to take a 1-year extension so that when the new commissioners come on, they can make the decision on who they would like as a lobbyist. So the thing that you're talking about with Commissioner Tobias is completely unacceptable as far as I'm concerned. I understand your concerns, but this happens all the time. Anybody else have any comments in regards to this? Okay, thank you. I appreciate your comments.
And I concurred about the 1 year versus the 3 year.
Okay.
So I have put in a card for the lifeguard item, but because that was pulled, I won't speak on that now. I will wait, and I will speak on my last item that I put in a card for. This is under the bill folder. So I went into the bill folder and expected this to kind of be not really very interesting, but I found that I have a couple of items that I would like to speak to that were in the bill folder. So on a few of the items that were included and requested for submission, one of them had to do with copies that were made by the commissioners. And there was a contrast between the commissioners in terms of who went over contract on their copies. So Ms. Pritchett, Commissioner Pritchett went over 2518 over contract, including 1668 color copies. Commissioner Tobias went 1509 over contract, including 1112 color copies. Chairman Steele went 531 over contract, including 375 color copies, and 0 contract overages for Commissioners Goodson and Feltner. And both Ms. Pritchett and Mr. Tobias are current 2024 candidates. Now, that doesn't mean that those copies had anything to do with their candidacy, and anybody is welcome at any time to send me anything after the meeting, and which I would be happy to take in that information, but I found that curious having to do with copies. Next, we found in Commissioner Pritchett's reimbursement, she's billing $48.69 for 1 ream of classic linen paper and $19.82 for 500 envelopes, which appear that they could complement each other. I don't know what those are for. You guys haven't been responding to my email, so this isn't something that could have easily been addressed beforehand, but I noted that. And then under Commissioner Tobias' expenses, he's requesting reimbursement for $28.05 for the truthfinder.com membership fee plus $3.99 for data access for the unlimited persons report. I object to that. I don't understand why a commissioner needs to have access to the Truth Finder, which is a background service. I went to the website on it, and it says, what is Truth Finder used for under their questions and answers? And it says to learn more about your neighbors, to catch a cheating spouse, to research potential romantic partners from dating apps. I like to think those aren't being done with public funds, but I just don't understand why if we are going to subscribe to a service like this, why it can't be a government thing that goes through one government office and that is audited and explained to the public, because are these people who are being researched, do they know about it in advance? What is the tracking on it? And once again, I welcome more information to come back to me on that so that I could feel more comfortable with this expense. I also noted on the Florida Today subscriptions that Commissioner Tobias has the most extensive subscription to Florida Today. Print subscriptions of $43 $88.87, which include $12 in premium subscriptions, plus the monthly online subscription for $14.99. He does get a better deal than Commissioner Pritchett, who is getting an online subscription for $19.99. And I just wonder with the subscriptions to Florida Today, just under Commissioner Tobias add up, that'd be $58.86 a month and $706 a year just for one commissioner's office to have a full scope subscription to the Florida Today. And I wonder about that. And that's my comments.
May I ask a question? Miss Lordy, did you call my office and ask them why we bought the 500 sheets of paper in the envelopes? Because I'm asking Adrienne right now, and she said she doesn't remember getting anything from you, because I would have told you. Every year at
Just let us all know.
graduation, we send congratulations to all the graduates. I've done it for 8 years, and it's what we do.
Thank you.
And I think if you would ask that, I would have told you, because you're really painting a picture here that, I don't know, no, don't speak back. I don't want comments, but it's really troublesome. With Mr. Book, I know Commissioner Feltner, you did that. Good play for you guys. But if we would have just kept the same guy over the next 3 years, we would have saved taxpayer dollars, $36,000, because he upped it $1,000 a month. And we've been through this before, and you're going to have to do a lot of work, but it'll never go back that low again. He would have gone ahead and locked in for that amount. So that's with that. I mean, you can paint so many pictures, and this is what I hate about this type of season. It just brings out the worst in people. But if you would have called my office, I would have told you that.
There's no need to disparage me as the worst
Well,
of people.
I'm talking.
Yeah, well then
But
ask me to sit down first
sit
if you
down.
wanted to insult me while
Sit-
I'm talking.
I'm
while
not
I'm here at the
insulting you. What
podium.
did you just
You
do?
just called me disparaging.
Sir?
I'm
Go ahead and disparage me after I sit down. but if
Excuse
I'm
me,
not-
Kristen, please, let's try to be civil here. Number one,
Please sit her down. So I can-
She doesn't
I'm going
respond to my
I'm going to sit
emails.
down. Stop. Okay,
Sure.
please, just for a second. The insults were coming from you, not from Commissioner Pritchett. Your insinuation on Commissioner Tobias and Commissioner Pritchett is unacceptable. You may have whatever opinion you want, and you voiced it tonight.
And I do.
Thank you very much for that. Now, please sit down.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
All right, please stop. All right, now we are going to, I believe, the consent agenda 13. Now, Commissioner Goodson, you would like the people from the audience to speak first on it in regards to that?
Yes.
That is fine. Once again, please, no applause. Let's try to get through this sticky subject tonight. And we're going to try to get some resolution, at least a little bit this evening, on where this is going to go. So with that, Wayne Kerrigan. Is it Carragino? Wayne, sorry about that. I mispronounced it.
Did we pull this from consent?
Yes.
Then do you want to vote on the consent agenda first?
Hold on one second.
Because you still have Katie for 14. And then we can vote on that and just do this.
Okay, you want to make a motion, Commissioner Pritchett?
You want to let her go first before we vote on consent, though?
Wayne, give me 1 second, please. We got one little thing to clean up. Katie Delaney, what we're trying to do is clean up the consent agenda, and then we'll get down to the ones that are important. You would like to speak on consent item number 14, is that
Yes.
correct? I'm sorry, Wayne, I apologize. Let's go.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi, thank you. My name is Katie Delaney, and I am not going to repeat the things that were mentioned. I think that the concern is the look, not necessarily that anybody's doing anything nefarious. I think it's more so just what I would like is if we could have a little bit more transparency in this so that there are no unanswered questions, so that the people know what they're looking at and why certain purchases are made. And like I said, I don't think things need to be repeated, but I think that that is the intent of those questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right,
I
now,
want to make one comment.
pardon me? Commissioner Pritchett, please.
Thank you. 5 years ago, this commission didn't used to put any of these things on bill folder. And we made a unanimous vote that anything that a commissioner would spend money on, we just did it ourselves. We put it out there so you guys can always see it on the consent agenda, because we thought the transparency issue was adequate for you guys to always know what's going on. if there's ever Florida Today, I think we all probably get that subscription for yearly subscription. So it's pretty good. We put everything on there that we're going to spend as an individual commissioner on there so you guys can see it. I wish every elected official would do the same. I would love to see the other ones put their travel on and everything else as well. I think it's a good thing to do. So I just wanted to make that comment.
Thank you. Any additional comments before we call for a motion on the consent agenda? I have a motion on acceptance of the commission on the consent agenda other than the items pulled. A motion by Commissioner Pritchett to accept the consent agenda other than the items pulled, seconded by Commissioner Tobias. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Wayne, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Commissioners. It's a pleasure to speak to you this evening. My name is Wayne Caragino. I'm the city manager in Cocoa Beach, and I'm here to discuss the lifeguard issue with everyone. We respectfully looked at your grant proposal, and quite frankly, it was very well prepared. It was very well done. County Manager Abate, we would like to thank you for the professionalism in the preparation of it. And we did a lot of homework and a lot of research on it. And one thing that rang in my mind as I looked at it was the wise man, Commissioner Steele's statement at your budget workshop, where he said, I will vote for this, but I will make a prediction that none of the cities will go along with this and we'll be back at square one. So I'm kind of here to fall on the sword, but the city of Cocoa Beach has elected to not participate in the grant agreement that has been presented. And that's my statement.
Thank you very much, Wayne.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Yeah, question,
what-
please.
Wayne, Commissioner Pritchett first and then Commissioner Goodson.
I thought I was going to get away, but
Yeah, quick question. Did you guys by any chance go back and revisit as far as this year's commitment with the seasonal lifeguards? Because after we had that conversation, I think you guys made the vote that not to pay anything for lifeguards. Did y'all change that again to go back?
no, we didn't. We have no intention of paying that.
So you guys aren't going to pay anything towards lifeguards?
No. I think we made that clear in our response.
Okay, that's interesting. I can't hear what the other
Commissioner
commissioners.
Pritchett, do you have anything else? Commissioner Goodson.
I have no questions. That
Okay.
was the question I had. Zero is the answer.
Okay,
Mr. Chair?
thank you, Wayne. Yes, Commissioner Fry, I'm sorry.
I'm
Apologize.
sorry. I'm sorry. I don't want to use your first name, Mr.
Wayne Caragino.
Caragino. I have a question here. I looked at your budget. Do you know how much your city, your mayor stood up here previously and said safety is a priority? And I understand you didn't say that, but I think the budget follows that. And this is your job to create the budget. So my question was the cost in fiscal year 24 of the municipal golf course that Cocoa Beach maintains. I have is $3,661,330. The revenue on top of to coincide with that cost is $2,175,350. So in other words, the city of Cocoa Beach has a deficit of $1,485,980. Does that sound to your recollection correct? I gave a hard time.
I'll answer that.
Sure.
Very respectfully by saying, at this point, I just made a statement that we're not going to participate in the grant agreement. So this is irrelevant. I mean, yes, it is. You can cherry pick anything you want out of our budget. You just said that, you didn't appreciate
Mr.
this young
Chair,
lady
this is not
doing
a
that.
discussion. I just asked a question.
Okay.
I don't know the answer. I'm not going to answer the question, quite
Okay.
frankly.
Wayne,
Okay.
That's fine. You have the right not to answer it. Let him ask let me please.
That's all I was asking was if he was familiar with the numbers and
No.
the deficit of the golf course.
All right, Commissioner.
I
Pritchett.
am, but I'm not going to answer the question. So
That's fine.
Okay.
Hold on now. Let's just end this on a civil note. Did you have any more questions? Okay, Wayne, thank you so
You're
very
welcome.
much.
Thank you. Thank you
I'm
all.
sure there's going to be some more discussion tonight in regards to all this. Will you take the chair just for 1 second on this one? Yeah, I'm fine.
Miss Sandra Sullivan? Miss Sandra, are you here? And then Mr. Don Willis is going to be next.
Sandra Sullivan. So looking over how this has progressed over time. So we in May of last year, 2023, we've substantially increased our lifeguard budget. So between last year in May to now, it's almost 45% of an increase in budget. That's a pretty significant increase in 1 year. Part of that was a request made to give lifeguards to Indian Atlantic, which there are a lot of drownings there, so I quite understand that. But the city's part of funding that city, they agreed that they would pay for those costs in 2024. We're in 2024 now. They agreed to pay half, and they're not. So that agreement didn't even pan out. But here's what I'm going to just say. Obviously, the state has a definition for your sand renourishment project where you get additional funding for beach renourishment for what they define as tourism beaches, which is beaches that have over 100 parking spaces. Since this is your tourism product, and I'm not quite sure how you're tying in TDT dollars, because at the budget workshop you said you couldn't use that, but that I think needs to be explained. But I think that our tourism beaches, as using the definition that the state uses, which is parks over 100 parking spaces, I think that the county should be funding 100% of those as essentially premium beaches with additional services and whatnot, and moving in that direction. So I think that you got to plan and not just do one beach at a time and add beaches and have creep on the budget. I mean, because obviously who's paying for this 45% increase in 1 year, which is just not a fiscal way to do things. But yes, I am appreciative of the staff report and them looking at where the drownings were and prioritizing in that. For example, where I'm from in the Sally Beach area, we didn't have any drownings, so we don't. But, look to the bigger picture of since you're going in the tourism direction, and hopefully our state reps will bring some legislative change with TDT tax next year, and working towards that can offset that expense. But I think we need to look at the whole tourism picture of funding 100% the beaches that are your tourism product that have more than 100 parking spaces, which is how it's defined for your beaches program and tying in. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Mr. Richardson, is it possible to use the TDT funds to fund all the lifeguards?
It's possible to use TDT funds for lifeguards. The amount would determine whether you could entirely fund lifeguards with it, but you can't use TDT
Because we had that
funds for lifeguards.
conversation before. That might not be a bad idea, worthy of a thought to find out how much we would be allowed to pursue on that. So maybe we get some data on
It's
that.
not a legal issue. It really comes down to available funds, but you can't
Okay.
expend TDT on lifeguards generally.
Okay.
Please.
Thank you, Commissioners. I certainly understand being on the other side of the comment table. My name is Don Willis. I'm from the city of Cape Canaveral, city councilman, a resident, and a taxpayer. I believe that the decision on this item if it were to go forward, would have detrimental effects on local community. In the past, until now, Cape Canaveral has had a wait and see attitude over these issues because we do not have a dog in the fight. We have Cherry Down Park as part of Cape Canaveral, but that is fully operated by the county. And because the county has proposed to carve Cape Canaveral out of the park system there, all of the beachside cities, we are the only one who have not been given a county park. But having done that, what is in it for us? Cherry Down Park may in the future become a city-owned park, and we would welcome whatever the county commission were to deem appropriate. But at this point in time, we feel that we need to be in support and solidarity with the other beachside communities. I think this represents a future tax increase for the city of Cape Canaveral if it were to go to over to us, and it becomes another string in the Cherry Down Park proposal. We agree with the position of the other beachside communities, and beach city residents do not use lifeguard services any more than anyone else in the county. And we'd also believe that the TDC bed tax should be considered to offset the share of lifeguard services. So I appreciate your attention and thank you.
I'm sorry, we're going to have questions.
Yes, sir. Commissioner
So
Goodson.
do I understand you that you would help pay Cocoa Beaches?
No, we'll pay ours.
Oh, so
We'll pay
can
ours.
we can put you in the pot then, correct, to help pay?
If we were to have that park, that might be a consideration.
Great. I think that'd be wonderful.
Well,
You know, since you're standing with them. I
Okay,
just-
now we're the ones that are cutting up here.
Well, I would go
I-
out there and kiss Cocoa Beach first.
no,
Thank you
We
for-
have to,
thank
we have to have something
We'll give you a
On our-
lifeguard if you'll help pay.
There you go.
without the strings though.
Yes.
May I?
Thank you.
Yes,
Sir,
yes,
hold
yes,
on a
yes,
second.
yes.
First of all, thank you for the way you came up. It's very delightful. And I'm sure that you're a real asset to your city. So I want to thank you for that. Do you guys have any paid parking on your beaches at
No,
all?
we do not.
Okay, that would be a question. So thank you for that because that's something I'm looking at as well.
Well, it would be something we would have to consider in the future.
Not for you necessarily, but those
Yeah.
that do have paid parking, that's kind of what I'm kind of weighing here a little bit too. But thank you.
Thank you.
You're different. Thank you.
Don, can I ask real quick? So none of the beach access points along like Ridge does,
Oh, Ridgewood.
yeah.
All
There are
of
no,
the- all
no
of those-
meters out there?
No meters.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Sherry Quarry, you're up.
Sherry Quarry, Vice Mayor, Town of Melbourne Beach. And quite frankly, we just don't have the money for the lifeguard grant that you've proposed. And we do have paid parking. We have 95,000 as a prediction of revenue in our 2024 budget. Right now, our paid parking is over 90% or over 50% lower than it was for the same time period last year. So I don't see that 95,000 is going to be a figure that we're going to be able to hit. So I'm glad I had that information for you. We've been working and looking into this from a town standpoint, and there's no feasible way that we can pay for it all ourselves. So we've been looking at trying to put together something that maybe Brevard County should look at doing, and that is perhaps a ambassador program where you could put together some people that would maybe patrol the beach as a volunteer and help with keeping people safe so that some of the lifeguard issues would be a little bit subsided, so that perhaps we could have a part-time lifeguard station at the current price. But right now, that doesn't even look feasible for our town. So we're still trying to figure out how you can pay for it because we don't seem to be able to put the money together. We're only a 1 square mile town. So this would ultimately become a tax burden to our residents. And I think that your tourist tax or whatever other revenue sources that you can creatively come up with to pay for this would be greatly appreciated. This does seem to be something that happens more when we have visitors. I don't believe any of our residents are having difficulties with the safety on the beach, other than perhaps when there was that shooting at Spessard Holland and we didn't have any coverage from Brevard County. Maybe there could be some security added into that in the ambassador program so that you could make the beach safer and also help from a drowning standpoint. Thank you. Any
Thank
other
you.
questions I
We've got a
didn't
couple of
cover?
questions. I believe was it Commissioner Tobias that was first, or Commissioner Pritchett?
95,000 is what we put in 2024.
Oh, no. I looked at your city budget and I looked at some line items on there because you said you didn't have any money. And you may hear us say things. You won't hear us say we don't have enough money. You'll see we have better uses for that money. So I'm putting that back to you. On there, you have a line item for decorative light poles. Do you know how much money your city spends for decorative light poles?
I don't know the number for
Okay.
the decorative light poles,
How about
but we
town?
do need to have the
how
light
about-
poles
how-
for security.
These were decorative light poles.
I
How about
think that anything
number
that is
two?
not
How about-
provided by FP&L is considered decorative.
This is a line item in your budget.
Correct.
Ma'am. Okay. Restoring dolphin carvings. That's a line item in your current budget.
Correct. And that was paid for by our parking. And that dolphin
So could the
carving
parking revenue
was
be,
a
could the
piece of
parking revenue
art.
be used to pay for lifeguards?
That's where the money is coming from, which is why I cited what our revenue from the ocean park parking is.
Last year,
in
your
the
parking
numbers.
revenue in fiscal year 2024 was $202,000.
That's not Ocean Park.
That
That's
is your
everything.
everything. Absolutely
That's
correct.
everything.
And the cost share that we asked, this would be what?
50%, and you've
Uh,
given us a part-time of 63,000.
The cost share would be
$967.
$127,000. That's the cost share. So in other words, your parking draws more revenue than the lifeguard would cost your city. You might have to cut out decorative.
That's incorrect. We would have to cut out Rickman Park playground upgrades. Would you prefer that the children don't have any new equipment?
I would prefer that you prioritize safety and not
And
decorative
playground
light
equipment
poles and
is a safety
restoring
issue.
dolphin carvings, ma'am. I mean,
Sir.
Vice Chair
Sir,
or
Vice
Mayor.
Mayor.
Vice Mayor, I
Sir,
apologize.
the dolphin carving is a piece of art that's part of the history of our town, and we did that as a preservation.
I appreciate that, and
Thank you.
I appreciate your prioritizing that over the safety of the people on your beaches.
I think you're totally incorrect in your statement, and I would like to go on record as saying that I think that you're not paying for all of the lifeguards when you're bringing in all of this money and all of these tourists. You're disregarding the health and the welfare of visitors, not to mention the other people that have to go out and try to rescue these poor people that don't know how to navigate our beaches. I have not seen any material.
Mr. Chair, I think I asked a question. I think it was answered.
Well, Ms. Corey, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Now, Commissioner Pritchett, go ahead.
Thank you. Ma'am, thank you. You're very nice, by the way, as well. This isn't a easy subject whenever you're talking about
It's
money
not.
and lives. I know. But I know that we all agree that people's lives are the utmost importance, that whether they're guests here or people that live here, we don't want anybody getting hurt. So I just know we already have that platform. And the majority of drownings of what I'm hearing from the cities is from people that are visiting your city.
I have a,
Well, just
and
yes
I
or
wanted
no.
to give it
Is
to
that true? Let me just do this path real quick
Yes,
for you.
we had
Okay.
a,
So we have,
in January, we had a PhD that gave us a breakdown
it's
of
okay,
everything.
just, that's correct.
And I have it
data,
for you.
correct? Okay, but so the thing is though, is you guys live in tourism towns on the beach there. It's kind of the personality's been there probably since you were a little girl. And this is what you have to manage. So, it's everybody's responsibility. It's the city's responsibility. It's the county's responsibility because they're our guest. So we have to figure out a way to start moving this needle a little bit because I think the cities do need to participate. So my thought is, if you're charging parking for people that visit your area as tourists, then maybe you need to charge a little more to help cover some of these costs to help protect the tourists that are there. So I think you guys need to go back to the drawing board a little bit and come with a way to help move this needle and start moving it. And again, if you said you have no paid parking, that I probably would just leave you alone right now like the other gentleman. But you're making money on the tourist, and a lot of your ad valorem is from tourists. You have a great community, by the way.
Thank you.
But I think if you guys go back and start working on a way to start moving this needle, I think it would be a better conversation than like the city's just saying, we're not doing anything anymore, because it's just, that's just irresponsible. But if you guys would work on that, I think we could get somewhere.
May I answer that?
Briefly, yes, ma'am.
We have our paid parking meters at $2, and the way that our income is coming in, we would have to make that $6 an hour in
Okay.
order to just kind of break even, if you will.
Maybe that's what you can do.
We've already got our police and fire. They're, as I said in the beginning, putting together an ambassador program.
That's wonderful.
For patrols. We've already increased our signage and streamlined our signage that was recommended. And we've already got a lot of other things that are on the beach. And I think we're doing our part, and I implore you to do more of yours.
Okay,
Well,
I'm sorry.
thank
Go
you.
ahead, Commissioner
Well,
Pritchett.
we're already paying almost all of it, and we're going to continue here paying half. So you guys have to start moving the needle a little. If you start charging more for the parking, your tourists then are paying for that. And so, and we're agreeing, I'm hearing it from everybody, the TDC money needs to do it. Well, that's tourism money. So as the tourism comes, they can help pay for that service. So if you guys would come and say, look, we're going to double the parking, every bit of it that comes in extra, we're going to help cover these lifeguards, then we're starting to move that needle some. But this can't be a shutdown conversation. We're not going to get anywhere, because you guys all know as well as I do that you need tourism in your community because you're a tourism community. So that's just not an option, is get rid of your tourists, because I want you to thrive and to do well. It's a wonderful county, wonderful community. So that's just someone mentioned. So if you guys would go back and start working on moving that needle some with a real conversation, then we probably could get somewhere with some kind of way to move forward into the future of how we're going to get to here.
I will take it back to the commission.
Thank you.
Okay.
But also, please realize we don't have
We need,
hotels.
Ms. Corey, we need to wrap this
Thank
up. I
you.
have one last question
No,
for
but you got
you.
parking meters.
One last question for you. At this point in time, the city of Melbourne Beach is planning not to enter the program. Is that accurate?
I'm not here to say that.
Okay.
I am just here to say that we don't have the money.
All right. We've
still
heard you
striving.
very well. You've done a great
Thank you.
job with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'll put a card in. May I speak on the item?
Well, I'm not finished yet. What is your name?
Robert Mikowski.
Okay, we'll take you right after the rest of them finish, if that's okay. We're certainly not going to miss you. Mayor, how are you?
This mayor?
Yeah, that's the mayor I'm talking about. I'm not talking about the old gray mayor. That'd be me.
Well, good
Go
evening,
ahead, Mayor.
Commission. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you again for dealing with all of us and our concerns. Just to reiterate on the lifeguard and on the revenue that you guys also make, we have 643,000 residents in Brevard County, and Cocoa Beach is 11,350, less than 1.8% of all the residents in Brevard County. So I do not think it's fair for Brevard County or for Cocoa Beach to pay for 50% of all the lifeguards when we only make up less than 1.8%. We cannot handle a $700,000 lifeguard bill. It's just not going to happen. So, yes, John likes to bring up that we, or Commissioner John likes to bring up that we make revenue from our parking. Absolutely, we do. And we make about $3.7 million. So just so you know, we spend 46% of our revenue from, well, not parking, but on our budget for our safety which is $5.6 million just on non-resident emergency alone. So we're doing our part. Just because we make money on parking doesn't mean we don't spend it on tourists, doesn't mean we don't spend it on making sure that our parking lots are maintained. Also, Mr. Commissioner Tobias, I like to say that we spend on public TV that we prefer vanities over safety, which is, I think that's just a cheap jab. We even talked before that we did not we did not plan on doing the caricatures. That was from the previous city manager. So that being said, we don't plan on paying into it because we feel it is the obligation of the county. We pay county taxes, and it would be double taxation for lifeguards. We already pay taxes. Everybody in the county pays, and Cocoa Beach actually has the highest taxes per capita out of anyone in the county, with almost $3 billion of taxable assets. So, I just don't think that that's, altruistic to make us pay for half of our lifeguards. You did mention TDT could pay for lifeguards. TDC actually pulls in over $3 million a month from Cocoa Beach alone. And you guys advertise from here to New York for people to come and use Cocoa Beach beaches, swim near a lifeguard. You guys advertise Cocoa Beach because you know that Cocoa Beach brings in that TDT money. So if you're bringing in $3 million a month, why don't you just spend a half a month of your income and use it for lifeguards for the year? It just seems, logical. So thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Tobias, you have a question?
Thank you, Mayor, for being here. I appreciate it.
Yes.
Continually being here. A couple things. I just want to, you mentioned you vote for the budget, of course. You did mention that your taxpayers are the highest taxed in the county.
Yeah, and we also have the biggest debt in the county too.
Okay. So, as the mayor, you voted for the highest. Okay, got it. Second, how would you respond to, at your last March 7th meeting, you used the word "we." I'm not sure who the "we" you were speaking about, whether that was you or the council. You didn't say "I." My question is a Commissioner Skip Williams, who sits on your, said, and I quote, "I believe we owe it to our constituency in our city to provide lifeguards at our city beaches."
Yeah, we had 1 out of 4 that thought that that he was afraid that we're going to not have lifeguards. But honestly, I'm not afraid because it's honestly, it's not our responsibility. It's the county's responsibility to provide safety for life. And that's whether it be on land or be on the beach. As you want to talk about,
Mr. Chair, my question was very simple.
Yeah.
When you say "we,"
yeah,
you're speaking for you as an individual or the board in total. That
well,
that was my
I guess
question.
I can't speak for the board in total.
Okay, so you said
Other
I.
than that vote was a 4-1 vote to not fund you guys. Yeah. So
Thank you. I just wanted to, and I wanted to be clear that there was a member of your commission who spoke contrary to what you're actually saying up here, who prioritized public safety and thought it was incumbent upon the city to pay for half of the lifeguards. So when you flippantly use the word "we," I think it's unfair for me to generalize the entire
majority
council. I'd like to say that I really appreciate what Mr. Williams said, and I think that was very important. And I wanted to make sure you recognize that as well.
Okay.
Commissioner Pritchett, you have comments?
I do, sir. Thank you. You had said a moment ago that the city of Cocoa Beach brings in $3 million for tourism money.
What's that?
You just said the TDC has $3 million a month coming to them because of Cocoa Beach's tourism.
Yeah, you guys had a printout that said
Well,
24
how
months
much-
record breaking.
So how much does
in a row.
Cocoa Beach get from the tourism and your ad valorem and
We-
restaurants and all those taxes?
We don't get money from tourism.
Well,
You
If
guys
they
keep it
visit
all.
you, no, if they visit you and they're eating in your restaurant, you're getting all those business taxes coming in. It's giving you
we get sales tax from the people eating in the restaurant?
Yeah, if you want to go run the numbers on that and see how much money your city gets from some of those taxes that come to you, you do get a share of those.
Yeah,
So,
you guys can use a half a month and pay for lifeguards. I think that would
well,
work.
let's throw this out. What if then we took your parking garages and we took that money and we pay for all the lifeguards then?
We have to pay for our safety, our fire and safety and everything. Like I said, we 46% goes to non-residents, which
But-
is 5.6 million. It doesn't
But
even pay for
your
that.
parking garages are there for tourism to park in, and you're making money off the tourism parking in your garages.
You know, I was thinking too,
That's
how
correct.
much of a loss do you guys have on
Is
your
that
on your
question,
golf
right? That
courses?
out of this. I'm in North Brevard, and we don't have to use any of this. So I get it. You guys need to keep people safe, but that argument won't work with me because we're not using any of those funds. So on this, to participate, you have, how much money do you take out of the parking garage fund? Because they're all tourism parking there, and maybe apply to some of this. Are you guys willing to work on that need a little, pay a little bit, charge a little bit more money to start paying some of these fees? Are you guys willing to do that? It's your tourism completely paying for the
Used to
lifeguards.
until you guys decided to charge us $700,000 more that we don't have. We're not going to play this game.
This isn't a game, sir. I'm trying to do, I'm an accountant. I'm trying to get some numbers here. And for you to just say, we're not going to be responsible for anybody that visits our city anymore is really irresponsible. I'm sorry, it just is. You did so well, ma'am, and sir, you did too. But I think you just have to go back and you guys need to work on something here to help move that needle some. Just to shut it down is not a good situation.
Section of your code of ordinances 262-27
Sir, I didn't ask that
says that you guys
question.
pay for lifeguards.
Okay, Mayor, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Well, that's subject to change.
Commissioner Pritchett, I apologize, but what I'm trying to get here is some conversation going from one side and answers from the other side. And when you're talking over each other, I'm not able to catch any of it. So,
I'm sorry, sir, but commissioners have to do this because we have to vote.
well,
We've gotta get our-
I understand. I just,
It's what we do.
I-
up here.
you're going to lecture me now on what we do up here?
We have to get information.
Wow. Whew. Okay, let's move right on. Jeremy Hutcherson, please.
Jeremy Hutcherson, Cocoa Beach. Thank you all, respectfully, commissioners. Also Commissioner Cocoa Beach. I look at this very simply as we're asking my residents to consider revenue share rather than the cost share side of it. It's really hard pill to swallow to tell our residents, hey, the brand of Cocoa Beach is very valuable. We make a lot of tourism dollars off that. But if you look at the revenue share versus the cost share, I think it simply is as easy as that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Katie Delaney.
Thank you. My name is Katie Delaney, and I'm coming at this from the citizen side. I wish that a conversation would have happened prior to that budget hearing, because personally, looking from the outside in, it's like a bomb was dropped on the cities out of nowhere. And I don't think that's fair. I don't think that is helpful when you're trying to work together and have a conversation about, especially money, which, let's be honest, that's one of the hardest things to have a conversation about. So just going forward, I hope that this commission would change the way that they do that. And rather than saying, dropping the ball on these cities, I mean, have that conversation, have that deliberation between the elected officials, even if it has to be a workshop or whatever it is. You guys do interlocal agreements all the time, and we don't have this much combative nature going on. So as a citizen, again, I just hope that we can do better. Thank you.
Chair.
Thank you.
Chair.
Commissioner Goodson.
Katie,
Yes, sir.
we gave directions to staff for
Right.
Frank Abati and our attorney to go out in May of 23 and talk to these people. It wasn't dropped on them at the workshop. They were well aware of this, correct? Correct?
You're absolutely correct. We had multiple meetings with each city.
In May of 23 and September of 23, the board gave us direction to go deal with the cities on that 50-50 cost share basis. And we met with each of the beachside cities, even the ones not receiving lifeguard services currently.
Well, they seem blindsided. So that just from somebody looking in, this is, again, I'm a citizen. You guys are paid to be here and paid to, do what you do. And just from the outside looking in, it's shouldn't be the way we do business. What has happened?
If they look blindsided, what are we supposed to do the next time we go? Could you advise us?
I don't think that's my job.
Huh. Well,
That's why you guys get paid the big bucks.
Well, we did go to them prior to the workshop. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Kristen Lordy.
Kristen Lorty, Cocoa resident. And I have an answer for Commissioner Goodson. So I've got a few ideas. And I'm aware that there were discussions that happened in 2023 about the lifeguarding, that this was not a matter that was resolved. And I would like to say that now that we've rounded the bend into 2024, the conditions aren't right for this discussion to have happened. These were brought up at the 229 budget workshop, and these people were not notified. So let's be clear about this. These people were not notified that there was a non-agenda walk-on item presented at the 229 workshop. This very item tonight on what you're presenting was presented as a consent agenda item. This was not presented as a, hey, let's chat about it. This was a consent agenda item in which you're moving forward. There's no reference to the 3 Florida Today articles. There's no reference to the TV. There's been 2 TV episodes or feature stories on this. I mean, no reference to the controversy, just marching forward with this grant program, and the funding is a done deal in our rearview mirror. That is not the setting that you have a conversation in. People at this meeting are being talked over, not just myself earlier, but people that I listened to on this agenda item were talked over after they were asked a question, because you guys are so eager to get your own answers and to control the conversation. I want to commend Chairman Steele for something that he said in Florida Today that would present much more favorable conditions if it were to really happen. In the Florida Today article by John Torres, it says, Steele explained the item will come back around again when the county manager releases his final proposed budget in July, and he's promised that there will be plenty of time for public input then. We'll address it again in July very intensely, Steele said, because I'm going to demand that everybody knows exactly when that conversation shows up, and I'll tell you what's going to happen when it does. We're going to have a lot of people in that county commission meeting. Well, that meeting appears to be happening right now, tonight, under a consent agenda item to do an up or down vote on the already marching forward to the grant program, where these cities have been stripped, some of them to 90%. You guys were doing a 90% contribution prior. Now you're stripping it down to 50% and acting it like that's normal. I object to the conditions of this. I object to there being no reference to the controversy in the agenda item. I object to presenting this as a win in the agenda item, so someone who's looking at it doesn't know that how much the increase cost to the municipalities, even though the dollars are all here, it doesn't state the extent to which the budget is changing, and that these cities might not be happy about that. And then the funding discussion at 229, where my very speaker card was denied personally. Once I saw that you were doing a non-agenda item, my speaker card was denied. The county attorney was gracious enough to give me a response to that, which I disputed, but nonetheless, I was not able to speak on that. Now I'm able to speak now, and I object to the process. And I want something where we have an actual workshop, where we have actual two-way discussion, and not just people asking questions and people being cut off. That's my request.
Thank you, Kristen.
You're welcome.
Robert.
Thank you, guys, esteemed chair and the board of county commissioners. Around the time that I started my business, Launchpad Solutions, and not trying to lobby, but I traded Mobstar man over bird search and rescue system to put on the back of cruise ships. It's a heavy weather drone with an IP rating of 67, and it goes on the back of cruise ships, and it drops off life rafts to people that fall overboard. Well, telemetry and VTOL and some security measures aside, if that could be something used for lifeguards, where we use drones under 60 GG.1511, no longer can we use but US-based drones for government agencies. I did try to contact Central Purchasing Services, BCFR, and the police department, yet going through the proper channels as Central Purchasing Services. Now, that would be something where it would save cost. You have a lifeguard that's paid per hour. If you were able to, say, have a drone for a year or a piece of equipment that could go and not only measure the security aspects of it, but be there for a program, an interlocal program for the high schools, the colleges, and such as FIT, who has an expo, and they do some amazing stuff with their UAVs and UAS systems. So I heard a lot of problems up here. I'm trying to present some solutions because I heard a back and forth, and I've never actually been into a Cook County Commission meeting with this many elected officials going back and forth at the other elected officials. So that's something where it's amazing to me that me coming up here, I think there's a solution to it, but let's try to actually present some solutions to the problems, not just the problems at hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Let's talk. I think there's several things that we need to clear the air with. Morris, in regards to the workshop that we had, Commissioner Tobias' motion was just a proposed motion. It did not cast it. I'm asking this question now. That was not set in stone, and it wasn't an automatic that was going to happen until the budget would be approved later on. Is that an accurate statement?
That's absolutely correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. So once again, there was nothing cast in stone at that budget meeting, period. Hold on. Do not do that, Sandra, please. We've been relatively calm tonight. Let's keep it that way. Now, tonight, what we're doing is, if I'm not mistaken, I was mistaken once with Kristen, so I don't want to be mistaken twice. Is this not, in the event that we accept that proposal, forms that are going to be used to enter into contracts with the cities? Is that correct?
These are proposed forms in a program for a grant program that would award funds to the city to help fund lifeguards at city maintained parks. Yes, sir.
Okay, so it does not say that we are going to do that, does it? Morris?
It does not. You would have to ultimately approve through the budget process the use of those funds. But
Okay.
this would give guidance, and we would expect to receive applications from the cities if the board approved this tonight. There's a deadline in the program of, I believe, is it a July 1st deadline for grant applications?
That's right.
Which would be prior to your budget hearings.
Okay, so just to set the record straight, there is nothing cast in stone here this evening until we have our budget hearings in June or July. In the event that we entered into any of those agreements, we would have everything ready to go and all of the forms ready in the event that this passes. Now, I have laid back on this for a long period of time, and I'd like to make just a few comments. One, TDC funds are perfectly capable of being put into play for lifeguards. I have wanted TDC funds be used for lifeguards from the very beginning. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Commissioner Tobias. I think what he's saying is he believes and he would like participation with the cities, and I understand that. And I think Commissioner Pritchett's trying to do the same thing. But what I'm saying is that I knew this was going to happen. This didn't take Albert Einstein to figure out that when these numbers were so high, that the cities were going to come back and they were going to say no. Now, I don't know what we're going to do if we have a stalemate on this. It's going to be very ugly, and it's going to potentially be very harmful to our visitors and anybody that's on that beach. So we may all walk away from here saying, yeah, we showed them. Yeah, that was so great. While we have people drowning on the beach or pulled from the surf. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. So we're going to have to get together somehow or another, whether it's we call a public meeting or a public workshop or whatever it is, to determine how we're going to get this done. But by God, we got to get this done. Because the first person that dies out there on that beach, it's all on both of us. Not just the cities, not just the counties, but both of us. And we can't do that. So I'm praying that we can come up with some way to get this done before the budget's over. And I'm not prepared to talk about it tonight, but I think we need to use TDC monies and do things like that. So that's the last I've got to say on it. Commissioner Goodson?
Yeah, question,
You want-
Mr. Chair, or Frank, how much money can we use out of TDC? What is the percentage that could go? 100%?
The amount that could be used is dependent on whether you are talking about it going for all the beaches, whether it's municipal or incorporated.
If it
At
was
that
to be
point,
used for everything,
yeah,
can
at
we
that
use
point,
that?
the issue is how much the board chooses to utilize within the pennies that are available. And so,
So
as
you're
the board
telling me that-
prioritizes that, you could use it up to the full amount.
Okay.
And I believe the county attorney's already, I had inquired that of him, and I believe that's accurate.
And I should clarify, I issued an opinion earlier that said the use of TDT funds is permitted, but I should qualify and say it's only certain portions of the TDT that is available for lifeguards. It would be parts of the marketing fund, basically, and for towers and capital equipment, potentially through the capital program would be the availability. But there would be certain pennies, like ironically, the beach fund, you can't touch for lifeguards, for example.
So would it be correct to say that we could fund 100% of the lifeguards or 80%? Give me some sort of idea.
If the money was there, you could, but I'm going to
Okay.
guess Peter would tell you the funds in the right places aren't available to do that. But I'm not the money person.
Now, the other question would be, right now, there is an uptick in the money to the tune of $3 million. Did they not exceed it? Their last month was over $3 million in the previous year, something like that?
The 3 million, you're saying the $3 million?
I'm saying the
for-
economy is so good that did they not exceed last year's March by 3 million? Something
They
like
had
that?
a month where the collection, I believe, was in the $3 million range. I think they were in, 26, 27 million for the year?
They're budgeted for $27 million a year. February was $2.7 million. That's the last month of collections.
Okay. So there's a possibility that everybody could be happy. But at the same time, if you had a turn down or a recession, then it would be right back up here in our lap to try to fund it, correct?
Right. Tourism is one of the first areas that if you have a recession, they're going to be hit harder.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Commissioner Pritchett.
Thank you, sir. If we could figure out how to do that, we tried this in 2023 and there was a hitch with being able to only do it for capital projects. That would be something that I would like to look at. I'm not willing for people to die on the beach. I do think, I want to say this is good dialogue. And every time we bring something up and we're able to have these types of conversations, well, we can't speak in private, but you guys are watching us work out all of this information, ask the right questions, because ultimately we got to vote and we don't want to make mistakes. We want to make good decisions for the people in Brevard County. So this is a very healthy thing here that's transpired tonight, and finding out where people are and what they might be able to go back and help with. Commissioner Goodson, I'm with you. I would love to be able to use some more of those funds if we have the ability to do it and they're up. But I would really like for the cities to help with this too, and go back and help figure out ways that you can help stimulate tourism funds with it as well. So it's a good start of a conversation, and it's opens up a lot of good dialogue, healthy dialogue. But the goal is that nobody dies, and we keep a wonderful county here with people being able to come and enjoy the county with a safe situation. So if everybody would go and start working on moving their needles, I think we could possibly get somewhere. I don't think y'all are gonna be able to pull off half yet. I don't know, but if we don't help budget a little, it has to be concerned. So Commissioner Goodson, good thought. And if we could pull that off, I'd be very pleased with it.
Okay, any more comments or discussion this evening? Okay, do I hear a motion to approve F13 for the purpose of drafting the forms in the event that we end up with agreements from the cities on this issue. Yes, no problem, Commissioner.
About the proposal, the one thing I do not like is Commissioner Tobias put on there a preference that said, I think a condition that said that with the savings, that it would go to transportation and safety. Okay? I think that should be stricken because I think we as a board need to decide where the savings go, if there is a savings. Did you not state that, Commissioner Tobias? Or am I confused?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
if transportation was added in there, it was a Scribner error. My intent was this to go to public safety. I didn't want anyone to think if there wasn't. The idea is there is no savings here. The idea behind this program is, as we've heard from Cape Canaveral, that they may look into looking and getting this program. And if we got buy-in from the cities, we could offer this grant program to communities that have beaches right now, but don't have lifeguard programs. And we've made good first steps on this. Our county manager, as well as our county attorney, have met with the cities like Indian Harbor Beach and Satellite Beach and said, here's a program in which the county will pay 50% for lifeguards for public safety. So I hope there is no savings in there. I hope we're just able to take the same amount of money and provide lifeguards for a greater portion of our beaches. But I have no idea. It's pretty clear what one member of the town council of Cocoa Beach is, but I don't know what all of are going to say. But if there is some sort of savings, I think it's very important it stays in public safety and public health. I don't want it to go to, and listen, that's a broad category. We spend tens of millions of dollars. My one area that I put was for, that I line item something was for, and we can add it in the budget, was for the public health department, because Dr. Zonka was looking at providing services for more folks in a more private setting. Now that would have to go through the budget process, and I certainly would spearhead that. But I didn't want anyone to think we were putting this in other buckets. So definitely not transportation, but public health and public safety were the areas that were my intent.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, any other comments? Commissioner Pritchett?
I was just going to recommend maybe we table this for one more meeting till we get data back on maybe some funds that might be available, with the TDT funds. And then if you guys would go back and just do a little sharpening, see if you can't help with this, maybe we can come to a place that is good for everybody.
Can I ask one question on that, of Morse? We had quite the discussion before that using tourism tax was problematic. If there's enough money in the bucket, you're telling us tonight that potentially we could pay for the whole lifeguard program? Is that right?
I didn't hear that.
Yeah, consistent with the prior opinion. It's from those certain pieces of the TDT. So it's a portion of the first 2 pennies and a portion of the 5th penny that's in the marketing program. It's dependent on marketing that service as part of tourism. So you'll see things like lifeguard towers on billboards, for example, or marketing efforts showing the lifeguards on the internet to support that as a service. If you do all those things, you can access those funds. But I want to emphasize that it's a portion of the funds and there's competition for those dollars in those buckets, because that's your marketing fund. So that's what you use to advertise and promote Brevard elsewhere.
I appreciate the opportunity cost discussion on that. But without tourism tax or without the city's participation, my understanding is 100% of the lifeguard cost would come from county general fund. Is that correct?
That's
currently there were, Cocoa Beach they've participated for many years up to this year where they changed it, but they were paying for approximately 25% of the seasonal lifeguards, as were other cities. Outside of that portion of the cost, then the county was paying the rest of it through the general fund.
So without any
Before
other
this year.
participation,
Right.
100% is going to be paid for by the property owners of this county. Right. Yes.
It was like I said, a portion of it, right?
Is there a motion to table or is there a motion to approve or
Mr.
Commissioner
Chair.
Clyde, go ahead.
Here's a large problem with we've heard that 100%. So let's assume for a second that the money is there. Let's assume that the economy doesn't take a downturn and we have consistent revenue. Let's even assume a 3 or 5% increase. Let's assume that we offer and we fully cover the lifeguards in Indy Atlantic like we are now, Melbourne Beach and Cocoa Beach. Let's assume Satellite Beach is listening to us right now, and Satellite Beach says, wow, we pay into tourist development. There are some short-term rentals and all that stuff, and we would like 3 or 4 lifeguards. Let's assume Indian Harbor Beach hears this and says, you know what, we would like lifeguards. This $2 million program will be a $5 million program overnight, and there is absolutely no way that the marketing fund will be able to bear that burden. So it's a misnomer to say that 100% could cover lifeguard services, because it will not happen, because the other cities will come and ask for equal treatment. And then we start running into problems when we're paying 100% of lifeguard services for Cocoa Beach and 0 for Satellite Beach. So we, as a board, need to stop negotiating against ourselves. We have a proposal here. The proposal needs to be provided to the cities. The cities then, as a organization, can come together and create a counter proposal to us. What I'm concerned about, if we don't take action today, is what happened last year when we waited to the last minute and we said, you know what, we're going to do this one more year, because that same thing is going to continue. I'm going to put a motion here that we take this proposal that even the opposing side said was put together very well, and send it to the cities. Some cities may reject it, some may accept it, but at least they will provide us with their feedback, and at least they may say, hey, 50% is unreasonable. I'm not willing to do away with the golf courses, even though Brevard County, by the way, did away with our golf courses, and we don't spend $1 on golf courses. But nonetheless, we put this forward. So I'm going to have a motion here. Again, this doesn't require, this is taking the documents that we have here and providing it to the cities. Again, the cities can reject, the cities can make counter proposals, but unless we don't take action now, if we don't take action now, we're going to be up against the gun at the last minute when we're making budget proposals. So my motion is to approve the Brevard County Lifeguard Service Grant Program, provide the city manager and city attorney to offer eligible municipalities that have beaches along their managed parks the opportunity to participate in the grant program, provide the county manager the authority to execute the grant agreements, notice of awards, requests for payments, and any necessary budget change requests associated with this program and agenda item. As Commissioner Steele said, this all gets encumbered in the budget. We just need to have those numbers going in. This is what triggers that. I sincerely hope that the cities accept this, and if they don't, they at least provide a counter proposal. The only counter proposal we have right now is from the city of Cocoa Beach, which said, oh, by the way, the $90,000 that we were going to pay this year, we're no longer going to move forward. So that is the motion. Again, this is just sending it out to the cities and seeing what response we get.
Is there a second to the motion?
Can I ask a quick question for clarity?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
What's the deadline? We get them all back by, if everybody says yes, everybody says no. What's because to his point, we'll may have to come back and clean some things up later. So what's the timeline on this?
Well, in part of the package that you have, there's a proposed letter that would go out to the cities. That letter indicates that we're looking, I believe it's either July 1st or June 30th. And the reason for that is so that I can submit to the board an appropriate proposed budget that takes into account who's participating and how many dollars you need to have in the budget to cover those costs. So that's how it was put together.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second for discussion.
Commissioner Pritchett seconds it. Go ahead, Commissioner.
So this is going to continue the conversation, but here's my thought, Commissioners. Commissioner Feltner, I've got another 6 months. This is going to end up being yours next budget. You too, Commissioner Goodson. So I think if you guys go find something with the cities, whatever you want that you can live with, if you guys can get you 3 votes together, I'll be your 4th. So I'm gonna watch and see what you guys want to come back with. You're the ones, this is your area. It's going to be something you guys have got to pull together for your budget. So that's where I'm going to be. But if Commissioner Tobias wants to send this out right now to keep the conversations going, I don't object to that because this is healthy. But by the end of it, whatever you guys come back with, I'll be your 4th vote on it.
Commissioner Feltner.
Just real quick. I think the municipalities and the county could agree that we would prefer for tourism tax to pay the whole thing, right? I'm seeing a lot of, okay. So I think that's a good goal. I don't know that that's realistic, but I think we'd all prefer not to have to pay lifeguards out of our general funds respectively. So we'll see what the future holds. Okay.
Okay, the motion's been seconded. I have one final, I think unless somebody else wants to add to this. I think this is a complete waste of time. I think to send this out to the cities right now is a complete waste of time. Because the bottom line is that I don't know about you guys, but I heard what you said tonight. You're not going to do it. I said it before. I'm saying it again tonight. And we're wasting more time and more time and more time. I just don't know how we're going to be able to get there with the proposal that's potentially the forms and the stuff that we have. So until we get the amount of money that we could get from the TDC, I'm a no vote on this. So any more discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay? Nay. Okay, the motion carries 3-2. I would like to take a 5-minute break if you could, please. Thank you so much. This is going. Okay, I believe we're on F2. Mark, are you up? In Public Works?
Yes, Commissioner. I1, correct?
Pardon me?
I1, Commissioner?
Yes,
Right.
I1, right.
Good evening, Board. This agenda item is to request the Board receive a staff report, as well as public comments regarding tree maintenance to be performed by PW in the coming weeks. PW has long-standing concerns on this transportation corridor. Staff is focused on improving safety by bringing the road into compliance with federal, state, and county standards relating to roadway clearance for vehicles traveling along the road. Citizen concerns have mainly been associated with preserving the character of the road corridor. Most recently, staff performed reviews as well as an engineering evaluation of the situation. Of the more than 1,000 trees in close proximity to the road, just 61, or less than 6%, require any trimming. No tree requires complete removal. However, 15 trees, which is less than 1.5%, require severe trimming. All 61 trees are in fair to poor condition, and most have been previously struck by vehicles. Rockledge Drive is a public road under the jurisdiction of the county by virtue of deed, plat, or maintenance, and therefore must be maintained in accordance with applicable federal, state, and county regulations. Trimming will be limited to what is overhanging the road at the state and federal minimum height of 14 feet, as was confirmed acceptable by our traffic engineer's analysis. Staff intends to send out notices starting tomorrow for advanced coordination with property owners on those trees that require significant trimming or cutting, but is starting minor trimming as early as next week. Staff will not be going on private property and will perform necessary cutting from the right-of-way. The only removal that will occur will be at the specific request of property owners with an appropriate lease of liability. All actions will be minimal in accordance with regulations and required for safety, while also ensuring that the character and the nature of Rockledge Drive are preserved to the greatest extent possible for a win-win. And to that end, we have considered numerous alternatives over the past several years, including a one-way study, a tree replanting program, and relocating the road around the trees, none of which were deemed feasible or acceptable. Amanda and I, as well as other key staff from Public Works, are in the audience and are prepared to answer questions the board may have.
Chair,
Yes, sir. Commissioner Goodson.
may I ask questions, sir?
Absolutely.
I have quite a few. Mark, can you describe to the board the process for Public Works took in the tree survey?
Yes, Commissioner. So we performed multiple surveys over several years under the supervision of our certified arborist during past attempts to trim the trees. The latest was performed in October 2023. The current survey that is in the agenda is split out into 3 categories, which are minor, major, and major plus plus, to reinforce that we are not involuntarily removing trees on private property, only what is in or overhanging the right-of-way. Subsequently, Natural Resources performed a evaluation in October and finalized it in March. That was by a certified arborist as well, which is Amanda sitting next to me. And it was predicated on the tree locations provided by PW at the county manager's office request in order to review the health of trees, vehicle damage, percent canopy loss, old growth, and other exemptions. Trees were ranked in fair to poor health, none of which were deemed in good condition.
Thank you. Can you describe the process for a natural resource management tree survey to us?
As I just mentioned a moment ago, so Amanda went out there personally as a independent certified arborist using the tree locations provided by PW and independently reviewed the tree health of all the trees that I just mentioned. The 60, it started at 65, it's down to 61 because of prior removal by owners. She reviewed the vehicle damage, the percent canopy loss, old growth, and if any trees were exempted under our landscaping code.
Okay. The statement's been made many times that we're clear cutting. Can you explain to the public that it's not correct and what actually is taking place?
Yeah, clear cutting is not an accurate representation of the facts. We are proposing to trim only within the right-of-way, which generally follows the edge of the pavement up to 14 feet high. Of the 65 trees that were looked at, out of more than 1,000 trees surveyed or counted along Rockledge Drive, there were 2 that were accounted for in our October 2023 survey that were removed by property owners. And then in Natural Resources assessment, an additional 2 were noted as being removed in the March timeframe, which gets us down to a revised total of 61. There are 28 which are slated for minor limb trimming and 18 which are slated for major limb trimming. And finally, there are 15 of those 61 that are slated for major plus plus trimming, which is less than 1.5% of all trees on this 2.6 mile section of Rockledge Drive.
Thank you. Can you explain to the public why now? What's the hurry?
Yes, Commissioner. So PW has tried to trim the trees on Rockledge Drive since 2014. Prior to that time, we were doing it while there were some concerns. Our certified arborists worked with residents, and we were able to continuously perform trimming when necessary. However, since that time, we've been impeded for a number of reasons. And so we have worked with the community, specifically the Rockledge Drive Tree Coalition and their current and past council attorneys, that is. The public at large, we've had public meetings. We've met with county leadership, elected officials. We've even commissioned expensive studies such as the one-way study that I mentioned before, drainage studies. We offered a voluntary tree program to replant trees back further from the road. We even looked at rerouting the road at one of our commissioners' requests around all existing trees in an attempt to find a compromise, but none were deemed viable.
Okay. Can you explain to the public why the county can cut the trees?
Yes, Commissioner. Under tree law, which is based on Scott versus McCarty, the adjoining landowner, in this case the county, may at its expense trim back healthy branches or roots that encroach onto its property, but only up to the property line, which in this case is the right-of-way line or the edge of pavement. This has been upheld in situations where cutting even could harm the adjacent tree.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Can you explain to the public that county can impact roots and branches per the tree law?
Yeah, as relayed a moment ago under tree law, as the property owner of the public road under common law, the county owns the land beneath the surface of the land and the air rights above the surface. That said, the current efforts are focused on just tree trimming, not the roots, although in the future, and we may get to that. If we have to put the sewer line down the middle of the road and or when we go to reconstruct the road, routes may be impacted.
Okay, thank you. Does the fire department need the trees trimmed?
So according to Fire Chief Voltaire on 30 October, in his communication to me, citing the fire marshal and the Florida Prevention Code, it states that not less than 13 feet 6 inches of unobstructed vertical clearance is required for the fire trucks.
Okay, thank you. Do the waste management trucks need clearance, or should we just put dumpsters at the end and let the people take their trash to the dumpsters?
So according to Director Mulligan on 30 October, he copied me on an email to Waste Management documenting their conversation regarding trash collection service, acknowledging that drivers collect trash on Rockledge Drive must cross opposite lanes of travel in order to avoid the existing tree branches. He also recounts that she stated in that email, in that correspondence, that 14 feet would provide a level of safety necessary for their trucks.
Okay. Do the trees interfere with school buses, Mark?
Yes, county staff remains concerned about the safety for school children. I had staff out there last week, and we witnessed on multiple occasions a school bus full of elementary school children as they were being dropped off on the afternoon of April 4th, multiple times crossing the double yellow line in order to avoid the low-hanging or leaning trees.
Okay, thank you. Is there any truth to the fact that county roads do not have to follow the Green Book? Please explain that to me.
So according to Brevard County Code, section 86-69, it states that roads will comply with FDOT standards. Further, Florida statutes 334 in multiple sections provides FDOT to adopt uniform minimum standards for the state of Florida, which includes its political subdivisions. And our traffic operations manager performed an analysis on Rockledge Drive in accordance with both the FDOT Manual of Uniform Minimum Standards for Design, Construction, and Maintenance for Streets and Highways, which, as you just referred to, is the Florida Green Book, as well as the FDOT Design Manual. And in her analysis, determined that instead of the maximum or the stated height of 16 feet plus an additional 6 inches for paving, that we can reasonably lower that to 14 feet, which is the best way to help protect the character and nature of Rockledge Drive to the greatest extent possible while achieving a safe road, because we are trimming at a lower height.
Okay, thank you. Why can't larger vehicles use US 1?
So while they can use it, Rockledge Drive remains a public road, and county staff continues to believe the appropriate standard required that the road be capable of serving emergency vehicles, recreational vehicles, trash collection, school buses, moving vans, box trucks, delivery vehicles, etc. And this road was transferred by FDOT to the county in the late 70s, and it has the requirement to uphold all federal, county, and state regulations.
Okay, thank you. Do you have documentation to prove maintenance?
Yes. So according to Florida statute 95.361, after 7 years of maintenance, all rights, title, easement, and opportunities were automatically vested in the county without the maintenance map that we brought to the board last month. As I mentioned a moment ago, we have been maintaining this road and have records since the late 70s showing that. We also turned that over to the Rockledge Drive Tree Coalition on the 2nd of November, 2023, which was over 300 pages.
Okay. What about the crash history on the road, Mark?
So since 2014, there have been 26 crashes, 10 involving trees, with 4 as directly caused by trees as provided by state data. In NERM's tree assessment, it noted that about half the trees were in poor condition, half in fair condition, none were rated in good condition, and some were barely viable. Out of that, 84% of the trees showed signs of vehicular damage.
Okay, thank you. Can you just Why can't you just put up signs on the trees?
So we have posted signs when we met with the public back in 2021. After that, there was a lot of conversation between us, the Rockledge Drive Tree Coalition, and members of the public. And while it was adequately signed, we added additional low clearance signs. And that is in accordance with the Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. However, it doesn't negate the current safety concerns and the county in not addressing state and federal minimum road standards.
Okay, thank you. I read statements that that they say trees do not cause the accidents. Explain your response to that.
So, Commissioner, it's true that speeding, not paying attention, et cetera, are reasons that drivers run into trees and tree trunks. However, our focus is on the vertical clearance, not the horizontal clearance. In our attached technical memorandum as required by law, we analyze this, and there are distinctions both in state and federal standards to help maintain the character of the existing road, and also from a horizontal perspective, having those trees provide some level of traffic calming. Again, our goal is to protect the character and nature of the Rockledge Drive to the greatest extent possible, while also achieving a safe road that meets state and federal minimums.
Okay, would you say this is a scenic drive?
So it is a scenic drive or route as designated in 1965 by the legislature, but at that time, there was no process or rigor according to FDOT and FHWA reps. It holds the equivalency of designating a street after someone today. That designation won't change.
Okay. Why doesn't the county apply for funding to save the trees with one of the state or federal agents?
So as previously briefed to the board, the only protection it offers is to avoid billboards, which is not an issue here. Neither program, the state or federal, is currently funded. Further, FDOT does not support an independent leg of the Indian River Lagoon Byway, and the Indian River Lagoon Byway is not interested in adding this section per my discussions in October with FDOT and FHWA. To be federally eligible, you must first be state eligible, and their acceptance would only be predicated on the state's criteria, which doesn't involve saving trees or transportation, hence no federal protection. This was communicated to the Rockledge Drive Tree Coalition, as was forwarded to me by FHWA and FDOT in October, and they knew about these provisions.
Okay. The statement has been made that Public Works is not listening, although it's my opinion that not everyone is being heard. There are those in support of tree trimming. Am I correct?
So that is true. The Rockledge Drive Tree Coalition, certain members of the public and the media continue to perpetuate some misinformation, not listening to what the county is stating about its safety concerns. We have multiple service calls from Rockledge Drive residents who have reported they were harassed by their neighbors for wanting the trees trimmed, and even requests by Solid Waste on behalf of Waste Management. Regardless, they are a safety concern, and not addressing them remains a liability.
Okay. The comment was made about purchasing smaller equipment. I would find that to be fiscally irresponsible, but what is your opinion of that?
So this option was explored and is possible at a premium. Equipment would be needed and sourced from out of the area. However, this isn't exclusively about the county's future plans to pave. This is about the state and federal, as well as county minimum standard of 14 feet for the box trucks, for garbage trucks, for fire trucks, RVs, as I mentioned a moment ago, every day that travel the road.
Right. And of course, you're well aware that the city of Rockledge doesn't do this. And why is that? Or what is
That's correct. So the maintenance map that was filed is regarding Rockledge Drive for the unincorporated part, which is from US 1 to Rockledge city limit at 1851 Rockledge Drive. The county has no decision-making authority over the city's portion of the road. However, state and federal, as well as county standards, do require a 14-foot minimum requirement, and I can't speak to what the city does or does not do.
Right. Rockledge Drive has been called one of the most historic roads in the county, and they are the only ones. And are they similar to other roads, or is that the only one?
So North and South Tropical Trail are similarly scenic. Those corridors have height clearances that comply with state and federal standards. And as a matter of course, when any other tree on any other road in unincorporated Brevard is called in, we have maintained them unimpeded, unlike Rockledge Drive.
Okay. And why did the previous commissioner promise not to cut the trees?
So the presentation of the facts. PW has a copy of the letter Commissioner Smith sent, and it states the county rescinded the voluntary tree removal and replacement program we attempted as a way to obtain voluntary participation. At that time, we also temporarily suspended trimming because it was the intent at that time to wait for the upcoming paving that we told the citizens we would be doing the following year and to do it in conjunction. However, the letter affirmed the county maintained its right to do so, as it does throughout the rest of the county. Because of the sewer project, Natural Resources and Utilities is undertaking, we delayed paving plans until the design is far enough along to determine if it will, our paving efforts will either disturb or not be disturbed, so that this way we can save taxpayer money and pave the road once.
Okay. Are these specimen trees, Mark?
I'm going to defer to Amanda, even though I can answer that.
So Brevard County does have a definition of specimen trees, basically 24 inches diameter at breast height, which is 4.5 feet, measured 4.5 feet from grade. The trees have to be in good condition, and I didn't see that any of the 61 trees were in good condition. Most of them were in fair or poor condition.
Thank you. Can you explain to the public the land clearing code?
In a nutshell, the land clearing code does require preservation. And one of the things that I was asked to look at in contrast with the previous tree evaluation was whether or not the land clearing code applied to these specific trees. What we found was more than 90% of them would be exempt because of their condition or because of the hazard that they were posing. And the others were only getting lightly trimmed. So the code wouldn't even apply to those others, the remainder of those trees.
Could you explain the impact of tree trimming to the surrounding environment?
So I looked at canopy loss with the proposed trimming at an extreme. I was pretty liberal with that estimation, and it was 25% canopy loss with the trimming that's proposed that would be recovered over time.
So as mentioned previously, we have a prescribed timeline to submit agenda items, and for both the March 12th maintenance map as well as this, we've met those obligations. The agenda is then published to the public. However, in addition to that, emails that were previously sent to Public Works, or if those residents had communicated a concern, they were emailed before both meetings once the public notice was made as a courtesy. The county attorney also sent notifications to the Rockledge Drive Tree Coalition's attorneys. And as I also had mentioned earlier on, we had numerous engagements, both public meetings, commissioners between when it was both in the D4 district and then later when it was in D2. Prior commissioners to you, Commissioner, had engagements with them. But we have communicated at every step, either in public or by email and then by letter to those 37 affected homeowners that we're talking about.
Okay. All right. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the public tonight?
No, Commissioner. Happy to answer any questions of the board.
Okay, I have two. I've heard that they profess that by removing these trees, it will incur more flooding on that road. Is that a true statement? Or do you know?
So of the 61 trees, again, only 15 require significant lifting. And I believe Public Works is going to offer the opportunity for the property owners, the affected 8 property owners, to meet with their arborist to discuss whether or not they would like the tree just removed instead of significantly pruned. Even if all 15 were removed, there are more than 1,000 trees in close proximity to this roadway. So it's still, 15 trees out of 1,000. So, increasing erosion, I don't know that that's a real concern.
Right. Okay. Thank you both. Thank you, Chair.
Thank
Okay. Guess we should go to cards.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Bradford. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak with you tonight. My name is Tom Bradford. I live on Rockledge Drive. I've lived there continually for 30 years. All right. I am on the board of the Rockledge Tree Drive Coalition, so I am pretty familiar with things that have come to us and things that have not. All right. And the first thing I want to say is that going on 3 years ago, I sat in Mr. Abadi's office concerning the same matter and was told that the matter had been settled. The county would not be touching these trees, which up to now it has not. But now, after a 2-year dormancy, the entire issue has arisen again. And this time, the claimed reason for the county to have the authority to cut our trees is that, first of all, it's personal, it's valuable property of homeowners. Paid a lot of money for the privilege of living on that street, having those trees. Is the county claims continuous maintenance on the road and contiguous right-of-way property for 7 years. I dispute this claim. Our attorney, J. Christie Wilson, has asked the county for proof of this beyond signed declarations. None has been forthcoming. Further, notifications were only sent about all this to a few residents, and with just a few business days before the March 12th and now the April 9th meeting on this matter. Most of us only heard about this through the grapevine, and it's of great importance to us. Now, if the county claims right away that is not legally determinative, the county is going to face inverse condemnation actions, and we have contacted a surveyor. We've contracted with them. We are in process of having surveys done, overlaying the maps to establish the attempted taking of private property, trees, canopies, and so forth. Look, this road is unique in the state of Florida. All right. And the explosive development of Florida and Brevard County in particular have made such irreplaceable treasures as Rockledge Drive all the more rare. And it's important for the balance of the environment and for the quality of life for our citizens. And I am respectfully asking that any proposed action, taking land, claiming right of way, cutting trees, be tabled, if not ended once and for all, so that Brevard's residents can finally be assured that this priceless, one-of-a-kind, designated scenic drive will be preserved in all of its beauty for the benefit of all of Brevard's citizens and residents now and for generations to come. Yeah, I thank you for your attention.
Commissioner Goodson.
Question. 63.5% of total Brevard voters said clean up the lagoon. How do you feel about the sewer line going down the middle of Rockledge Drive?
Well, that's an issue that isn't entirely clear to us because, in all honesty, we talk about this, about the sewer line issue, and that I have not really received some definitive trade tonight. I think there's been some windows. I think there's been communications back and forth to some degree, but it hasn't been clear. The other thing is, I'm not sure sewers is even the best answer to this issue. And we understand the issue of trying to clear up that lagoon, and we're all for it. All right. But I believe there may be other solutions, such as advanced septic systems and so on like that could make better sense, because it will preserve the beauty of this drive. And if I could say one thing, please. Okay, we can talk about 1,000 trees, but only some of them are oak trees. All right. And I would say probably the majority of them are palms and things like that. All right. But some of these oaks are majestic and old.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
Well, you say advanced septic, and the experts say they're good, but they're not near as good. You said money, down there, but you want me to allow you not to have a sewer system in town to it, but yet go upstream to somebody or up the hill to somebody that might not have as much money as you and force them to have a sewer system. Is that basically correct?
I don't believe I said that at all.
Well,
I
is that
said
you
that- I
did
said
talk
it's an
about, you talked
alternative.
about money. You talked about money, and I understand Rockledge. There's a lot of money there, but you know, how would you, I guess we're going to have to come to some agreement on which one's better, sewer line or septic.
Well, I believe that, I didn't know that was the discussion tonight.
Well, it's probably going to be eventually.
Well, then I
so I'm
think that
asking
would be
you
a
your
great
opinion.
thing to talk about at that moment. But
Okay.
tonight, I'm
All right.
not prepared
Thank you,
to
Chair.
have
Thank you,
a
sir.
Very
debate
much.
over those two things.
Thank you very much. We've got a lot of cards, so let's try to get through them. Elizabeth Ashley Hardy. I missed Kirk, didn't I? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Ashley Hardy. First of all, I would like to thank y'all for your service. I know it's difficult doing what you do. And I think we can all agree that if you're in this room, you're in here for one reason for only, even if you're up there or where we are, you love Brevard County and you love our communities. And that's why we're here. Tourists that sent about living on South Rockledge Drive in the area we're discussing tonight. This is what I care about, and this is why I'm here. This is what I want to protect. There are other places in the United States of America, in Savannah, Georgia, on Victory Drive, Lombard Street in San Francisco. I realize that you don't think you said it's not a historic street. It doesn't have much quality, but look around Brevard County. People come to Rockledge Drive because it is beautiful. It is scenic. And if you continue cutting and not thinking things through, we're going to lose this. And you're going to continue to lose these beautiful trees that were documented back in the 1800s. And that's why I'm here. When I bought my house, I have to tell you guys, I had more people that told us to tear it down. If I had $1 for every single person who told me to tear down my house, I would be a wealthy woman right now. Is it hard to uphold a historic building? Absolutely. Is it expensive? Absolutely. Is it a pain in the rump? Yes, it is. It's difficult when you live in a unique area, but you have to look for creative options. And that's what I'm asking for as a resident, is creative options to remember where you are. And if you have to look no further, look to our wonderful, beloved capital, Tallahassee, Florida, where I had the privilege of living and going to school at. They have a lot of canopy streets, and this is not an issue. Everybody's on the same page that they want it to look spectacular. And so that's why I'm here. Thank you for your time. I hope you'll put a lot of thought into this, and think about the years. And if they can't get down the street, don't go down it. Don't go down it. It's like Lombard Street. You can't bring a certain size school bus down Lombard Street in San Francisco. And we're not the first group. I ask you to reach out to Tallahassee because they deal with this. Savannah, Charleston, South Carolina. We're not the first person in the United States. Thank you.
Kirk Ruffmaloff. Good evening, Kurt.
Good evening. My name is Kirk Rummelhoff. I want to thank the commissioners for once again providing me the opportunity to speak in support of the Rockledge Drive Tree Coalition. I'm here today to present for the record a copy of the 9,052 petition signatures gathered by the Tree Coalition in support of the effort to prevent the cutting of the live oaks on Rockledge Drive. I will leave this document with you tonight for your review. The document I am leaving with you today is the record of those 9,052 of your constituents that do not agree with or support the commissioner's decision to cut the live oaks on Rockledge Drive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Goodson.
Question. There's 240 houses. How do you have 9,000? And I've reviewed
I
that.
can't answer
And
that
some of
question.
them are out of like Japan,
I can't answer
Washington.
that. I can't answer that
They're
question.
our constituents.
I can't answer that question. sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sandra Sullivan.
Give me that thing. I want to see it when she gets through.
The top one.
Sandra Sullivan, at least there's no hot mics tonight. Thank you for that. So let's talk about Rockledge Tree Drive. It's the oldest road in Brevard County. It's beautiful. And I think a lot of this issue is created because trust has been taken away for the people that live on that drive. So in 2021, I was helping the Tree Coalition with this issue. And we're being told, hey, we're repaving the road. We need to trim these trees to repave the road. I can't tell you how many misrepresentations have been told, but boy, weren't we shocked when I got online and I came across a GIS map that this road was actually slated for sewer. But nobody told the people on that road that that was the real agenda. No, this commission misled the people on that road. And that's the crux of why trust has been taken away. And with this tree trimming and the major trimming and how far is that going to kill trees, it's because the trust with these people were taken away. The people who care about the lagoon, many of them have put in advanced septic already. Their houses are set back from the lagoon. They're far enough away, more than 500 feet, that's the last impact. Those trees will uptake nutrient loading. But you know what probably the most important reason to keep those trees is? And this is so short-sighted when we're talking about the lagoon, is that this road was identified by NOAA, a federal agency, as having increasing flooding from the Indian River Lagoon in storm events for resiliency. Well, when we have a storm event, it's just basic science. The roots hold the bank and stop the road from washing out. So you got to look at the totality of the situation, and you have to look at what is in the best interest of that road. And when you look at the science, what is the best thing is advanced septic on that road and not putting in sewer. And for the sewer project, you are looking at 67 trees being cut down. This is about the quality of life on the people on that road. And I'm going to say this situation and as much backlash on this issue was created by misrepresentations by this county to the people living on that road that these trees, 67 trees, were being cut for a paving project, which they were not. And you don't have to buy the machines to do the special paving. You can lease them. So anyway, thank you very much for your time. And hopefully you make the right decision by the voters who voted for the Save the Lagoon tax. And you're not listening to the voters.
Matthew Nyland.
Commissioners. My name is Matthew Nyland. I live in Bonaventure, on Bonaventure Drive, and ride my bicycle up and down Rockledge Drive. Rode it today. It's a beautiful place. I wanted to call your attention to your own Chapter 62, Article 13, Division 2, Landscaping, Clearing, and Tree Protection, 62-4331. Purpose and intent. The Brevard County Board of County Commissioners finds that the health, safety, and welfare of its citizens can best be protected by land development regulations that encourage the protection of heritage or specimen trees by supporting and enforcing the following community goals. Promote the establishment, management, and conservation of native vegetative communities. Promote visual and aesthetic buffers between land uses. Encourage the protection of heritage or specimen trees. Promote water conservation and aquifer recharge. Encourage creative landscape designs. Protect life and property by appropriately planting trees and vegetation. preserve and enhance property values, control soil erosion, mitigate heat, air, and water pollution, and provide regulations that are user-friendly, flexible, and minimize conflicts with other land development regulations while protecting property rights. I read this and thought this was a clear statement of intent of preserving places like Rockledge Drive. And further, it states that that this purpose supports the comprehensive plan policies. As you guys know, this is a very, very sensitive environmental area. We are right on the Indian River Lagoon, and we are part of the lagoon that is probably the most polluted and in the worst condition of any part of the lagoon. Water quality there is very bad. I used to fish the lagoon. I don't anymore because you can't catch anything now. Anyway, conservation element objective 3 in coastal element policy 2.3a, improve water quality by reducing excess nutrient and pollutant loading into water bodies, surface water and groundwater by uptake through roots. Conservation element objective 4, reduce flooding by stormwater runoff uptake through roots and therefore increasing flood storage capacity. And conservation element 7.1, reduce, prevent erosion and sediment runoff into surface water bodies by stabilizing soils and dunes. So again, just reading your own code there to you to remind you that you thought it was important to protect places like this. I think it's very important to protect places like this, and I hope that you guys will protect my beautiful neighborhood and the beautiful trees that live there. Thank you.
Sarah Hodge.
Sarah Hodge, Merritt Island, Florida. We have lived here. I've lived here all my life. I was born here, and those trees are special to everyone that goes on that drive. People drive it from other countries, other states. They love that road. It's an asset for this county, and everyone that lives near there, that is their treasure. I'm opposed to it, so is my husband, for the tree trimming or the planned sewer plant, because I do believe that the advanced septic tanks will be better than a sewer system at that place. And I think that we will have to do research and find proof, but the trees are important for the flooding, for the filtering of the stormwater. You need to have those trees on that road. And I support every comment that's going to be said tonight in opposition of trimming those trees. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Carabaz. Jack Carabaz? I know Carol Pope's here. Carol? Thank you. Hi, Carol.
Good evening. I'm Carol Pope. I live on Rockledge Drive. First, I want to thank the staff for this informational report. It was very informative, and it answers a lot of questions that we've had. It also documents that you, the county commissioner, are not required to maintain a 14-foot vertical clearance on South Rockledge Drive. There are no state or federal regulations that require you to adopt a 14-foot vertical clearance on a local residential low-volume road. Section 8669 was voluntarily adopted by the county to use the state Green Book as a guideline. There are no state regulations requiring compliance with that. You can make variances from that. This is a local regulation controlled by you, and you have the authority to make exceptions to your own ordinance. In fact, you are making exceptions. Page 3 of Exhibit A in your package shows you are making an exception for horizontal requirements on this same road right now. If you can make an exception for horizontal clearance, you can do the same with vertical clearance. As shown in the accident report, which is attachment G, there were more accidents involving mailboxes, walls, rocks, and posts than there were with tree limbs. It's been mentioned many times that accident involving tree limbs can be eliminated with proper signs. The report verifies that signs are working. There are only 4 accidents with trucks hitting tree limbs, all between 2017 and 2019. The low clearance signs went up in 2021. There haven't been any accidents involving tree limbs since. Signage is working in other areas as well. I have a picture that shows of Riverside Drive in Ormond Beach on a similar road that shows a sign of clearance of 9 feet for their trees. So it does work in other areas and people are using it. Also, the Florida Fire Prevention Code allows lower clearance than 14 feet as with proper signage. It's in their Florida code, the fire code. You've listed Rockledge Drive in your comprehensive plan, Chapter 9 transportation element as a scenic highway with states vegetation and trees growing within the right-of-way of those roads shall be protected by development regulations. Your own comprehensive plan gives you justification to make exception to the 14-foot vertical clearance and save the canopy. This is 2.5 miles of low volume, 25-mile-an-hour residential historical scenic road with an extremely low accident record, 26 accidents in 10 years. Those 26 accidents were from 2014 to 2023.
Thank you, Carol.
Will it be your legacy of the commission that this historical asset will be destroyed, or will it be enjoyed for the next 100 years as well?
Thank you very much, Carol.
Thank you.
Steve Kennedy.
Good evening. It's Steve Kennedy. I also have lived along Rockledge Drive for over 30 years, seen a lot of changes. I want to appreciate all you, say thank you, especially the
Steve, if you
support
could
staff.
speak into the microphone a little bit, it would help.
Okay, sorry. Also want to appreciate or acknowledge the support staff. As a resident over 30 years, having driven up and down, and I only have one way into my home, and that's Rockledge Drive. I have seen those trees grow out of maintenance, and they're beautiful trees. It's a beautiful route. It's what attracted us to buy down south end of Rockledge Drive. But when safety is a concern, when a 9-foot clearance with a fire truck with only one way in, it's not going to work. And you all know that. I'm just saying, if my vehicle is damaged, who do I go after? Who do I sue? Who pays for the damage to my vehicle when I can't pass the road? I don't know how often a 14-foot, which seems reasonable, would be maintained, whether that includes branches as well as limbs. I haven't got a copy of the report. I'm going to go find one. And it's, you know, it's a lot of talking past each other, I see. And I think there is common ground. For me, a 14-foot clearance is not that big of an ask, particularly when you have the safety involved. And, you know, you'll still have the beautifulness of the oak trees. I know in my situation, if my neighbor had a tree that was damaged, leaning over my house, I'd be out there with a chainsaw. And I have every right to protect my property. So that's all I have to say, and I thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Grover Gregory. Very interesting name. Got a ring to it.
Well, thanks. Thanks to you guys giving me the opportunity to speak. I would like to ask, I saw that Commissioner Pritchard was concerned about life, about people losing their lives on the beach. It happens to be that in America, a lot of people lose their lives from vehicle collisions. Not being in the car, we're well protected in the car. Where we're not protected is when we're walking our dogs, we're on our bicycles, we're walking down the road. I happen to have a home office and I look out on Rockledge Drive all day. I would estimate, I haven't seen anyone do a traffic report, but there are probably 10 pedestrian / cyclists, for every car. And all I've heard discussed tonight is the safety of some metal. I don't hear anybody talking about the safety of the people who are walking on that road. And that is why we love that road. It's beautiful. If you get under a hammock, and this is the hammock in the sense of the environment, you're protected from the sun. It's cooler there. And on Rockledge Drive, you have a unique situation with the sea breeze. So when you go walk down Rockledge Drive on a hot day in July, it's a good 15 degrees cooler because of that canopy. So I'm very concerned that nobody's talking about the people who use Rockledge Drive on their feet and on bicycles. It seems to me like we've got our priorities wrong. If you make that road amenable and comfortable for big vehicles, then you're going to get more big vehicles driving down there. And when big vehicles hit people, people die. I'm also concerned about the misleading terms that we hear. Maybe it's technical jargon when you say trim a tree, but when you lop the entire trunk off, I cannot understand why you think that you can call that trimming a tree. You're not trimming that tree. You are cutting it off. You're killing the tree. And that is what is contemplated. A 14-foot, if everybody would look up, all you commissioners, I think that's about a 14-foot ceiling. Do you really think that we need trucks driving down the road that are that tall? It just blows my mind. We don't want to see those kind of vehicles on that road. So stop using the word
You're going to
trim.
have to sit down, Grover. Thank you very much. Perhaps you probably ought to think about if your house was on fire, if a fire truck can get down that road. It depends on how big the fire truck is.
The biggest.
Okay.
Six of them. Six
All right. Thank you for your answer, Grover. We got several people over here answering for you, but thank you. All right, Walter Cornell.
Hello, commissioners and staff. I'm in River Ridge on Rockledge Drive in Florida, and I've been there like a lot of the people you've spoken to for eons. I was going to talk about the lack of answers that these people have been asking now for over 2 years on this same subject. And I just got a thorough set of questions and rehearsed answers, apparently, about what we've been asking about, which really come down to why. Why? And we've heard everything. The report that was submitted to Mr. Goodson was as comprehensive as I've ever heard, and I've been involved in this for 2 years. So thank you for your thoroughness and your questions. Up till now, it feels like we've been forestalled. And I want to tell a story that reminds me of this, that there were not good answers coming from staff or coming from the commission, because we would all look at each other and ask a question. Well, if you've raised teenagers, you'll appreciate this story, perhaps. My mother raised 3 boys. And as soon as we hit 16 years old on a Friday night, we cruised by her as she sat. And she asked natural motherly questions. Where are you going? Things like that mothers would be involved with. She knew she wasn't going to get an answer. So she answered herself. Where are you going? Out. Who you going to be with? Whom-a-jigger. When are you going to come home? I don't know. And that was the whole dialogue. Well, I was here to talk about, I want to ask questions and I'll answer them myself. Why do you want to cut the trees down? We don't know. Because. What gives you the moral authority to take what is so beloved beyond the residents of Rockledge Drive? Because it's hard to fire us. So some of these types of questions and the answers were addressed comprehensively but the residents of the county and the visitors to that drive haven't had that opportunity to understand that. And they were very well prepared and I sense rehearsed with the answers. But if we worry about safety and we want to move the needle on this, as Grover mentioned, 10-to-1 traffic versus cyclists and walk that drive. Those trees and those limitations are slowing traffic down. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay. We are finished with that discussion. And we will be moving on to Speak Up Brevard, I2. So we have several cards in regards to that. And first, what a surprise, Sandra Sullivan.
Can we do a 5-minute break possibly?
Commissioner, you want an overview first?
Yeah, oh, that's right. We need a small break here. I apologize, Sandra. We've got court reporters and other things going on. Yes.
Quick break? Or you need to do an overview first? Okay. 5-minute, sir?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, 5 minutes. All right.